Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday Mastermind. So today I thought it would be a good idea just to go over certain things that has happened, that's changed. If you guys had any questions, there's a few things that have come up that I would like to just go over, which is really, really important to you, whether you're on the seller side or the buyer side. I'm going to start out with the seller disclosure just because that's something that just came up 2 days ago. So a listing was listed prior to August 1st, right? And we represented the buyer, and now the listing agent is saying that their seller never signed the seller disclosure, and it was prior to August 1st. I know Fran can attest to this. When we went to a seminar with Barry Goodman, he said he did suggest that if you do have an active listing prior to August 1st and it did not go under contract, even if it did, you should encourage your clients to get that signed, because it's kind of like a touchy time frame, right? It's like right towards the end. And then if you are having those type of situations, please bring it up to your manager attention, because we can always send an email to the broker, and I'm sure we'll get it if we do reach out to them. So if you are in the, don't just say like, oh, okay, it's prior to August 1st. Like, you still should. I mean, we have very, very few properties. This one, actually, what happened is it was active, under contract, it expired, went back to active, so that you definitely need it at that point. So if somebody's not giving that to you, please make sure you do. And now if you have the listing and you still have an active listing, whether it's a brand new construction, guys, you still need the seller disclosure. So please make sure you have that. And it's so much easier if you just upload it on your MLS, because that way, if anybody, you don't want to have like 30 people asking you for the seller disclosure. You can just say seller disclosure is on MLS. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the referral forms. So please remember, if you are referring a client to another agent, whether they're within the company or outside our brokerage, you need to have the referral form signed by your broker manager. It can't be signed just agent to agent. It has to be signed by the broker. The agent is not the one who's writing a check to you. So if you don't want to have those type of issues, you want to make sure it goes both ways. If you're sending out a client to somebody, you want it to be signed by the broker manager. You should not be sharing the client's information without that form being signed, because you know what's going to happen is they're going to change the terms of what you guys agreed, right? And then it's kind of too late because you already shared the information with the other agent. So please make sure, if you didn't get those referral agreements signed by your broker manager and the other broker didn't sign it, it's pretty much like you don't even have a referral agreement at that point. Listing fees. So that's another thing that has been brought to me. I am aware that some other brokerages have decided to not collect a listing fee, nor are they paying out a listing fee. As of right now, it could change today, but as of right now, we are still okay with you guys charging an MLS fee and paying out an MLS listing fee, as long as, if you are on the listing side, your client is offering a buyer compensation. If you're requesting the other, let's say you have a listing, you're charging only 2%, and the buyer's agent needs to get paid by their buyer, then obviously you should not be collecting a fee at that point. But if you are offering a commission to the buyer's agent, then you can still request that they pay the listing fee, whether it's $100, $200, whatever it is. This is the important thing. If that's what your listing agreement is with the seller, where you're offering out, I'm just putting this an example, nothing is standard, 2% minus 200. And if I am a buyer's agent and I contact you and I'm like, Fran, is your seller offering any compensation? Don't just say 2%. Make sure you say 2% minus 200. When they're submitting the offer and they're sending you the broker compensation agreement, you want to make sure that it's going to reflect the 2% minus 200. If you just let that go, you're not collecting the $200. Because if they're signing an offer confirming and they're signing the buyer compensation agreement, the broker to broker compensation agreement, then we can come back and saying you agreed to this. But you can't just assume you had a verbal conversation and now all the contracts, everything is signed just with the 2%. Now, again, if you have a fantastic, we work for the client, for the seller, right? So if you have a great offer and you did miss that 200 and somebody submits an offer without it, is it worth losing the offer for $200? That's something you need to also think about. You know, again, it could change down the road. It looks like it might be changing just based on what everything is happening with the commission structure. But as of right now, us at Remax Select, we're okay with you guys charging a listing fee and also paying out. One thing I wanted to show you on Loop. Let me just share my screen. All right, so let's say you're working with the buyer, and let's just say this test file is a buyer, and you're submitting multiple offers. You don't want to keep creating a new file for every transaction. I'm just gonna let you guys know that this is not the right way to do it. Loop and every other platform is designed for you to have a new file for every offer you write. You shouldn't be saying Joe Smith, Bayonne offer, Joe Smith, you know, Morristown offer. They're designed for you to have, we need to keep each, whether your offer was accepted or not, we need to keep the file for 6 months. It gets very confusing if you're going to mix files back and forth. However, in the event that you are one of those agents that just are showing properties, nothing is set in stone, you can always add new documents, because unfortunately we have come to a point where you cannot you cannot archive required documents. So let's say like I am showing 2 properties and I have the seller disclosure for my buyer that I wanted to send for them to review in the lead paint. And now you just want to use the same folder for that one client. You can create a folder and then you can just say, let's see, new folder. I'm going to name it as Morristown dead file. Then you can drag documents to that. See, like you just kind of drag them, anything that you're not using from the actual folder. And then you can just kind of, you can't archive required documents, okay? Now, I don't want to make it confusing, but in the event that that's what you're doing, you're using one folder to showing properties. Like let's say you're attaching your your MLS sheets. This is a great way to do it, right? You can create a folder that says MLS sheets and now you upload them. Because remember, with the buyer agency agreement, let's say you had a 3-month agreement and after 2 months your buyer decided to cancel, you have to let them know, send them an email confirming the termination and send them a list of properties you have shown them if you want your commission to be protected. Fran, would you like to add anything to that?
Nope, I think you got it covered. I think that's a great idea, and they should just, don't give in to it so easily if another company is telling you it's illegal, because it's not illegal to collect those fees, right? It may be their company policy, but it's certainly not ours at this point.
Correct. So if somebody wants to submit an offer and if that's what your agreement with the seller is, if they're not going to write that, then I'm sorry, you're gonna have to just let them know that that is the agreement with the seller, that you have it signed. And if they don't want it, they don't have to collect the fee, but if we're requiring them to pay it, then you can actually, keep it firm and say it's not illegal. So until we're told it is, we're still gonna continue collecting it. Any questions that you guys would like me to go over? This is your time. If you have any questions, what I just went over.
Hi, this is Sujata. I had a question regarding the exclusive buyer agency. I'm not sure if this is a good time to.
Sure. What's your
Okay.
question?
The question is on termination. I mean, whatever the words say, I understand what it says, but what has been everybody's experience? Like, if any buyer can just terminate an exclusive agreement that we have with the 3-day notice, what is the worth of that paper? Is my basic question.
Well, it's worth it because a lot of times you're showing that buyer properties, right? So let's say
Yeah.
you have your agreement, whether it's the entire state of New Jersey or if you picked counties, and if you're showing them properties and they decide to cancel with you, you kind of have the protection period. So in the event that that client submits an offer on any of those properties you have shown, you can actually they'll be responsible paying your commission. And I've had this happen maybe 2 months ago, and the buyer, our agent was showing them multiple properties. They submitted a few offers, and when they realized their offer was not getting accepted, they decided to terminate the contract, found another realtor to submit an offer. And I did go after the buyer and I said, just so you are aware, here's the termination email that we agreed. Here's the properties. If you buy any of these properties in the next, again, whatever you put on the protection period, this agent put 120 days, you will owe Remax Select a commission of, it was like 2% at that point.
Okay.
So it does protect you because before, without the agreement, people were just using us as door openers and you kind of went your merry way. At least now you have it in writing. Like, I've showed you these 3 properties, 5 properties, 10 properties, and you are protected in that sense.
Okay. So they do not need to give any reason why they can just say we terminate. Is that correct?
Correct. You as well. You can also terminate, either party can terminate it in writing.
Okay. All right. That was helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But they do want to remember to send the list of the homes that they sold. So your record keeping is very important. Once if they terminate you, you should send them the list of homes that you have showed them. And just say, I received your termination agreement. Please find the list of homes that we viewed together and realize that you are responsible for any compensation should any offers be made on these properties.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Welcome. It's so important to fill out the protection period as well. Don't leave it blank. It should, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. Just remember, like, you could have shown a property, submitted an offer, you lost the offer, it went under contract, and your client, whether the buyer agency expired or they decided to terminate, sometimes it takes 4 months for a property to go back active. And if you did write an offer, then you deserve to get a commission if your client decides to go back to the listing agent and buy it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
What would happen if they buy the property with another agent? How do you go about that, getting your commission out of it?
It's very important for you to have that email if they did this, if they canceled, or if they didn't and you didn't know, they just went ahead and bought it.
Right.
So this is why we have arbitration. Then you're gonna have to go through the arbitration system and go and collect your money.
Okay.
I think the
That
question,
still exists.
I think the question she's probably asking is, how would you know they went and bought the other property?
Tax records, you're gonna have to do your due diligence just like before. It's kind of hard, right? Unless you're following that client, trying to, if you're putting an alert on the properties you have shown and when they sell, and if you see it that, it has the buyer's last name, that could be one way of finding out.
New Jersey does that, but Garden State doesn't.
Right, so it's hard, but that's the only way, Audrey. There's no other way unless you're still communicating with the client. They tell you, oh yeah, I ended up going to the listing agent and got a good deal.
I'm just wondering, how are you really going to get compensated? Like, are you able, who are you going to go after You know, are they really going to pay you?
So I would first go through the, let's say the other agent saying, hey, were you aware, did this client disclose to you that they had an agreement signed with me? Because then at that point you can actually go and sue the buyer, because it's in writing that in the event the buyer doesn't disclose to another agent that they're working with someone else, they're going to be responsible for paying out the 2 commissions.
Mm.
Now, do you want to be the first realtor to sue the buyer? You know, that's something to consider. I'm just gonna mute everybody and then you guys can unmute when you're asking.
Can you call up the other office and speak with the broker?
Yeah, so the first step is, let's say you find out that your client has bought a property with another agent from a different broker. The first step is reaching out to the owner of that office and letting them know that, you know, we have found out that your agent wrote this listing and we have the buyer agency agreement. Were you aware of it?
We can also call Garden State to see if maybe there was an exclusive afterwards. Because sometimes, you know, a lot of the agents, they want to get the credit. So they'll leave it as an exclusive possibly, and then you can call Garden State and see if they have a copy on file.
That's correct. Thank you, Gail. That's good advice.
Oh, I'm a big investigator.
Just remember that, you know, it is a slow time for everybody. So you do have agents that are on their toes, and there's been more complaints with the board than ever because now they don't have a lot of clients they're working with. So even if you do get a buyer that says to you, oh yeah, I have a realtor, but nothing serious, please remember that that agent could have had an agreement signed as well. You don't want to do double work and not get compensated and you end up losing. So it's not worth it. You know, whether they're a $200,000 buyer, $1 million buyer, it goes both ways, right? So when you are working with a client and you have them sign an agreement, make sure you let them know. You might say, well, it's in writing, they should read it. Most of the time we know from experience, when you're sending something to sign, they sign it back within 2 minutes, you know, so clearly they're not reading. So make sure you bring it to their attention. Do you have another agreement signed with another broker? And if they say yes, but it's canceled, show me the list of properties that that person has shown you, because you don't want to be in a position where you're showing the same properties. Clients trick you. You know, you might think even your own best friend, like I'm not going to mention name, but there was one in the company, you know, she was showing properties to her best friend and the best friend went straight to the listing agent. So you don't want to be in the position, you might think, oh, they're loyal. Believe me, if they can save 2%, 3%, 5%, they're going to leave you. So you want to have, when you're dealing with properties, everything is in writing. This isn't real estate. It's not like you're buying a piece of chocolate or a pair of shoes. Like have everything in writing. There's no verbals.
Hi, I have one more question. And the buyer exclusive agreement, the law, it became applicable from August 24, I believe, right?
August 1st.
Okay, 2024, August 1st, 2024. Okay.
Right.
Now, I have a transaction where it was K. Hovnanian, where the builder promised let me go back. The contract was signed in 2023. The builder was supposed to give the new construction to the buyer by 2024, did not happen. Now they are getting ready to close 2025. So do I need to have the exclusive agreement with the buyer? How do I date it? And this was in a contract that was signed before the new law was in place.
As long as unless Fran, you said otherwise, as long as you have it on the contract where the seller's paying the commission, correct?
They are, yes.
So I
Yeah.
would say that that's fine. You don't need to have a buyer exclusive agency
Okay.
agreement. When you close on your dot loop, just let the admin know and they will remove that from your dot loop.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Which office are you with?
Remax of Princeton.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, also for NTN reports, we are looking and switching, guys. I'm just gonna let you guys know. I want to make this more simpler for you guys. Once we have that set, we're just looking to find the best option. We'll let you guys know. But just remember, the NTN report is on our hub. There's a link you need to share with every single person that's applying over the age of 18. And then there is a form that you need to complete to request a report. They're now going to send it to you by just sending the link. So there's a form that you guys need to fill out as well. And if you need help, please let your manager know and they'll be more than happy to show you.
Yeah, you just can't randomly give people the link without knowing what their email is. You have to have the information in order to get the report back. So if somebody's calling you saying, hey, you gave me the link, but I never heard back from you, say, I need to have, you need to have their email address, right? You just can't, and their names. You just can't hand the link out to everyone and tell them to go ahead and do the NTN. It just doesn't work that way. The accountable part comes when we complete that form to get the information.
Correct. Deborah, you have a question?
Yeah, hey, good morning.
Good
So-
morning.
So my question is, I just came back to Remax from EXP. So when EXP, started training us in August on the listing and the buyer agency, we were told that when we go on a listing appointment, we could say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I take this % from my commission. But we were trained to tell them that they did not have to lock in to any specific amount of commission for the buyer broker, that we would be able to review each offer as they came in on a one-to-one basis. So if it was 50K over asking, they asked for 2%, or if it was 50K under and they asked for 2%, the seller might say, I don't want to do that. So I had 2 listings since I joined, and I'm kind of confused looking at the paperwork because it's asking me for a number for the buyer broker. And with EXP, they actually just took that whole section out for the
So-
buyer broker.
You're using forms from the MLS and you don't have to lock them in. You can just leave that blank and it's negotiable. Even if
Right.
even if you put in 2%
Zero.
or 0, yes, you
Yeah.
can put 0, and then your seller can change their mind when they're submitting, whoever submits an offer. Even at this time, your seller might say, I only feel comfortable with 2%. They might get an offer that they're requesting 2.5% or 3%,
Right.
yes, Fran, because everything is negotiable, just so you
Yeah.
guys know.
Right. So my question is, so agents at EXP, again, when they would call us up, we would just say that, our seller's willing to compensate a buyer broker, please submit it in your offer in the contractual provisions, what you're looking for. They're looking at it on a one-to-one basis. Now here they're telling me that, that when someone asks me, I have to say, oh, she's paying 2% or 1% or whatever, but I don't really know what they want to pay. They're willing, because I thought the whole loft thing was also that, they didn't really want to pay the buyer's broker. They just felt that the buyer's broker was working kind of against them and they didn't want to get locked into that. I know it's beneficial for them to offer it, but so in the paperwork, you're saying I could leave that section blank because I'm using dot loop. So whatever's in dot loop in the Tinton Falls office, is what I use. So I was like, I brought it to Danielle saying like, I don't know what to do with this section.
So you can put 0. So if your seller said, Deborah, I feel comfortable offering 2% to the buyer's agent. And if somebody calls you and you know the percentage, then you do need to say it's 2%. But if your seller says, I kind of want to leave that open depending on the offer, right? Now you put 0 on the paperwork because you need a number. And then when they call you, you can say, look, my client is willing to offer a compensation depending on the offer. Submit your offer and I present everything to the seller. Fran, yes.
Yeah, the new listing agreement though from the state does have a box that says the seller authorizes the agent to disclose the compensation or not to disclose the compensation. So technically, the law says you should tell them if the seller is willing to offer compensation, but you don't have to tell them the amount.
Right.
You don't have to tell them it's 10 apples, 5 apples, or 4 apples, right? So, and you could just say the seller has agreed that they will offer compensation, but they've also said, just bring in your offer and we will see. Now, you can't treat people differently, okay? Now, maybe by the price, they may decide they want to pay 10 apples or 5 apples, but according to the agent, that you cannot have them, like if 2 agents come in with the exact same offer, they should be offering the exact same compensation, right? They can't
Correct,
treat
yeah.
people unfairly, so you have to be, good about that.
Right. So the document you're saying I would have to put a number as in 0. I just was more wondering how to fill that out.
You could put 0 and next to it you can write it's negotiable,
Okay. Thank
right,
you.
Adona?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so it's almost 10 o'clock. Any other questions before I hand it over to Tyler? Today's actually a great session, so please don't leave. He's going to go over the buyer and listing presentation. So this is actually goes really hands on hand with what we just went over. If you need more help with the buyer agency agreement and how to present it to your clients, he's going to help you prepare or show you how to do the buyer presentation. Tyler, I'm going to make you a host.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you guys all have a great day. Tyler, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully, your morning has gotten off to a good start. It's starting to warm up for those of you that have been in the Arctic blast zone. If you guys need a reprieve, you're welcome to come to Arizona. I think it's about 80 degrees and sunny, and I'm sure Florida's probably got some similar weather for you. And maybe some of you might be trying to make it out to R4 before they wrap up. They got some pretty good weather out there too. So anyhow, appreciate you tuning in today for our Bold Trail session. We're in week 5 of 6. Today we're going to be talking about presentations, the present system. So let me share my screen here and we'll get rolling. So let's see. All right. So for those of you that have been on these sessions previously, just bear with me here. I think there's always somebody that's kind of new to the system or new to the platform, so I want to give a brief intro to it, and we'll dive in. So for those of you that have not been a part of the Bold Trail system or have logged in before, that's fine. Basically, the way you get into the platform is you go to remax.net. You plug in your remax.net email address and then the password that you set up. And if you don't know what it is, you must click the forgot username or password link down below. The Remax or your staff does not have access to passwords. They cannot reset passwords. Only the corporate staff and support team are able to do that. So if you can't sign in, just click this forgot username and password link, and you should be able to get signed into the platform. And then that's where you're going to access all of the tools that Remax provides to you, including the Max Tech powered by Bold Trail platform. So the other item here to recall is Bold Trail is the new name of the KV Core platform. Inside Real Estate is the company that developed the software. They named the package KV Core for a number of years, and then they just rebranded it to Bold Trail. So if you see KV Core or Bold Trail, they're the same thing. About the only thing that's changed is a little bit of the colorization, and they kind of streamlined the tiles, if you will, a little bit to make them a little bit easier to find and work within the platform. So Bold Trail, KV Core, same thing. All right, now once you are in the Mac Center platform, I have bookmarked some tiles, if you will, that I constantly need to access or just want to have quick access to. So if you have not bookmarked it, you can click on the little tassel here to make it blue, and it'll become one of your favorites, if you will. And if you can't find it on the main screen, go over on the left-hand side and click Apps and Tools, and you will be able to see everything that the system provides. My screen and your screen might look a little bit different, but basically what you're looking for is Platform MaxTech powered by Bold Trail. And then that will get you into everything that the MaxTech system provides. So I'm going to click on that. And while I'm waiting for this to load, I'm going to start typing some information in the chat screen. For those of you I haven't met yet, I look forward to doing so. My name is Tyler Leon. I'm General Manager of RE/MAX Excalibur here in Scottsdale, Arizona and Tucson. We became a part of the select group about August of last year. So I'm excited to be a part of this group. I've been excited to do these trainings. I'm excited to support all of the agents within the RE/MAX Select family. So for those of you in New York, New Jersey, Virginia Beach, Florida, Arizona, and anywhere else you might be, feel free to reach out to me to get support, ask questions, maybe go through a tutorial. I'm happy to do those things for you. So my contact information I just put into the chat log. My Tidy Cal is a way to set an appointment with me if you know you're going to need, maybe a half an hour or up even an hour, just kind of drilling down on some things, getting questions answered, showing you how to do certain things. The Tidy Cal might be a better way to block out time for both you and me. I will always do my best to answer my phone, answer my text, answer my email. Reach out if you do need help. Now, product support is going to be who you would want to contact for more heavy lifting type issues, like something just flat out isn't working or doesn't look the way you know it's supposed to look. I'm not an employee of RE/MAX. I don't have access to the whole Bold Trail backend system. I can submit a trouble ticket kind of on your behalf, but that's about the extent of my power that they grant me. So the product support team, they've been very helpful to me, and I know they'll be helpful to you. So if you want to reach out to them, you can utilize their contact information, which I just put in the chat as well. And then if you're looking at the screen here in the bottom right-hand corner, I love this little blue bubble down here. It's a way to actually chat in real time with a live RE/MAX support representative. So you don't have to wait for them to return an email or something like that. You can also use the chat log in there. So and then last but not least, I have been recording each of these sessions. Like I said, today is week 5, so we've got 4 weeks of content. I had to post it in a Dropbox folder. YouTube, for whatever reason, didn't want to take my videos. I guess I said the word password too many times or something, and it just flagged it as giving away too much information or something along those lines. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me, but I couldn't find a workaround. So if you want to go back and see the recordings of the videos, the most recent videos that I have recorded, you can access them via the Dropbox link that I just put in the chat. And then I also have put in the chat the playlist of videos that I did on the previous 6 weeks of content. So if you want to fast forward ahead and watch week 6 today, you can watch the previous week 6 session. So eventually I think I'll probably pull that down and try again, but with these new videos, but at least you've got a lot of resources that I put in the chat log for you to access. And yeah, it's at your fingertips. Watch it whenever you want. So getting into the Bold Trail system, we've already accomplished that. So hooray us. Now what we want to do is get into the present system. And for those of you that are kind of wanting to interact and ask questions and things like that, the chat or unmuting yourself works pretty well. So I'm going to do my best to monitor that. And yeah, so feel free to ask questions as we're going through this. If nothing else, let me know y'all are alive and paying attention and the coffee's kicked in. So it's a little after 8 here. I'm doing pretty good, I think. So take one more sip because I'm going to need it. We got a lot of content to cover here. And actually, I really like the Present system. Used to be called Dash CMA. Inside Real Estate likes buying other really good companies that have developed good software and folding it into the platform. So a lot of what you see in the Bold Trail system is kind of a Frankenstein of all these different companies that they have purchased over the years and massaged into their ecosystem. So if you ever used Dash CMA, what you'll see in the Present system should look somewhat similar. All right, so to get to Present, you click on the marketing button over here on the left-hand side, and then click Get Started under Present. Now, again, your screen might look just a tiny bit different depending on your resolution and how zoomed in or zoomed out you are, but it should be somewhere right on the screen. Scroll down if you don't see it immediately. So it'll take a minute for it to load up. And the first thing we're going to do is create a seller presentation. So a lot of the MLS systems out there, I only know Arizona's. I don't know the others in the different parts of the states that you might be in. But in Arizona, we use Flex MLS. There's a CMA tool, and it's okay. But I mean, really, what it's missing is branding and content that actually helps the person that's looking at it. There's no like how to prepare your home to sell, the value of a RE/MAX agent. There's no RE/MAX logo anywhere on what you're using within the MLS. So what you get from the Present system automatically, I think, takes a step up and above because it actually demonstrates value. And especially in the market that we are now, that we're having to demonstrate more value, not only to our sellers, but especially our buyers, because we're having to have them sign agreements and do different things like that. You can utilize this system to create these buyer tours, seller listing presentations, things like that. Eric, yeah, hey, the Bold Trail system is 100% free to use. There are add-ons and modules and things that you can spend money on, but you don't have to. It's all optional, but you get the entire Bold Trail platform for free as a part of your membership fees at RE/MAX. So on the open market, it can cost anywhere from I think $600 or $700 up to about $1,200 a month, depending on the add-ons that you would purchase, and that's if you were with a non-RE/MAX company. So yeah, there's an incredible amount of value being provided to you at no additional cost here. So good question, Eric. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, so when you are in the Present screen here, you see the different options. I mean, I call this really realtor friendly. You don't have to like really spend a ton of time setting things up, looking for stuff. I mean, there are systems out there that you could probably do more with, but this is pretty robust and pretty simple to use. So I think for those of you that might be a little afraid of technology or can consider yourself not tech savvy or tech illiterate or tech deficient, I think you'll find that this system is actually somewhat easy to use. If you can make a CMA in the MLS, you can absolutely make a CMA within the Bold Trail system. And while I'm on the topic of CMAs, CMA is an industry term. Be careful about using that when you're talking to your clients. They don't always know what you're talking about, and speaking lingo to them can kind of get you off on the wrong foot. Just miscommunication, or I just don't like the word CMA when you're talking to a consumer you've never really communicated with before and may not know what that means. So CMA stands for comparative market analysis. Really what it is, it's providing a evaluation on the home and the marketplace around the home. That's what we're essentially creating here for a seller. All right, so I just picked out an address for a property I know is not listed, and here it is, Agave in Carefree, Arizona. Carefree, beautiful city. If you haven't been there, I recommend popping in. And then we click next. Now it's going to say, okay, confirm, update subject property info. It's pulling it from tax records or maybe old MLS data. So you want to make sure that the information in here is correct. So you can click on the drop windows. You can add and remove bathrooms. Yes, this home does actually have bedrooms. I did double check. So it has 3 bedrooms, and this property actually has 2 baths. So how or why it has that information, I am not entirely sure, but we're going to go and we're going to change the information to the correct one. Normally this is spot on. This one, for whatever reason, is just off, or something has happened, and I don't know. Anyhow, you have the ability to adjust all of this information so that when it starts pulling comps, it pulls properties that are similar to your subject property. So next, I'm going to click comparable details so I can actually pick the properties that I want to use in my comp analysis. Now, if you are just hammered for time and don't want to deal with customizing this, you can click skip to presentation, and obviously that's going to take you to the end, which I promise we will get there, but let's kind of go through this so you can see how to actually build out your CMA. So you have a lot of different options in here, right? You can first off change your search radius to up to 15 miles. So if you're in a rural community, or you just have nothing happening around your subject property for whatever reason, you can expand that radius to up to 15 miles. You can also draw a map. So if you just want to hone in on a particular quadrant of a map, you have to kind of double click in there to get the polygon started, and then you got to close it up, and then it's going to have that map around the those in that area that you have designated. If you say, oops, I missed a spot, you can click reset, and it's just going to bring everything back. There's a reason why they've done a mile radius. I mean, that's a pretty good starting point. If you want to work in a specific area like Canyon Ridge Estates, you can see that in the middle of the screen. So I can type that in, and eventually it should pop up. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It may just have to, yeah, it's not recognizing it because it's not a big enough area. But if I wanted to do like Carefree, I could do, Carefree, and it would just encompass the whole entire Carefree area. Okay. So now there's like my search area for that area. So I know in back east, there's townships and little areas that you cross city lines, and the property values and the type of properties changes drastically. So this might be a easier way for you to get that search radius closer to what you want it to be. So for our purposes right now, we're just going to stick with the 1 mile radius. I think you get what the options are there. Now, on the left-hand side, you've got basic parameters that you can search for when trying to pull comps into your report. And you will have the ability to add and remove properties. So if there's just an anomaly or some property that flat out doesn't fit, you can remove those, and I'll show you how to do that. So here you can change the bed count, bath count, square footage. The defaults are pretty good, but again, you can expand or contract this stuff out in order to adjust the number of comps that are being pulled into the report. So change your range, 81 to 2005. I like doing something maybe a couple years ahead of and a couple years behind. So the property we'll say it was built in 1981. So I'm going to say I want 1984. So that's going to pull all the properties in the range. Okay. So now you can see I've drastically reduced my number of properties. So you can see right down here, there's only one match, and it's an active. And for Jeff, I think I just answered your question here. If I didn't, let me know. The color key, so the properties that are highlighted on the map, the color key, if you will, is right below here. So let's say I've got that one active match. Okay, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to clear out the filter, and then maybe change my range to 1970 to 1990. Okay, that should probably give me some more comps. Again, I want data in there. All right. So keep changing this, or you just get rid of it and you can go back to where you were, and you'll see everything that's in there. And the date of the house, as you know, I mean, a house could have been built in 1980, but it was completely gutted and remodeled in 2026 or 25 or 24. I don't know how your MLSs handle that information when the home has been really remodeled like that, but the year built may not have any effect on your comps, because you're going to go in and kind of fine tune them anyways. Close date, okay, how far back do you want to go? 6 months. And then total lot size is, do you want to go, square foot, an acre? from to, same thing. Then make sure you click the checkbox to save your changes, and then go up here and you can see what's going on, and I can zoom in a little bit. So, I mean, what I've got here is actually pretty good. I've got 6 active, 2 pending, and 6 sold within the last, what was it? 6 months, I think is what we selected here. Yes, 6 months. So again, you can change that. Now, here's a very important part. I know that these options that are on the left-hand side are not all of the options that you may want to help you identify your comps. There might be like pools and the size of the garage and all kinds of different things that you want to utilize to really narrow in on something that's more comparable to your subject property. So you have a couple options here. One, you can go into your MLS and hand pick MLS IDs and load them into the system right down here in this bottom left-hand corner where it says MLS IDs. So if you want to really handpick your comps via the MLS, you can do that. Just copy and paste or write down the MLS numbers of all the properties that you want to pull into the report, and then you enter them here. Make sure you have a comma in between each of them, otherwise they won't load properly. And then click this little side arrow, and that's what's going to load it into the system, and you would then see them on the map and get all the data. So if you're really concerned about the comps and making sure they're perfect, finding the MLS IDs within your MLS and bringing them into the system might be your best option, depending on your person, the seller you're dealing with, the available comps in your area, the area you're working in, a lot of different variables there. So once you have this kind of general search
Tyler,
done, you
I
can
ask you a
click Build
question?
CMA. Yes, I hear somebody talking. Go ahead.
Can you put a range of bathrooms, bedrooms? Like, can you do like 3 to 4 bedrooms?
Unfortunately, it does not appear
Okay.
to provide that. Yeah. Now you can, I believe you can kind of adjust it under these features, if I'm not mistaken. Bathrooms. Yeah, it doesn't give a the bedrooms. So you can do some different things here, and I'm kind of skipping ahead here just to try to answer the question. But it doesn't look like it provides an actual range. Let me just see something here. So these little question marks, if you put your cursor over it, you can adjust it. So that most closely compares with the it's gonna just pull the 3. If you go to 2, oh, there you go. Gosh, I Mary, I owe you an apology. I completely forgot that you can actually set that range. Sorry, my coffee apparently has not kicked in. I need to take another sip. So yes, you can set a range of 2 to 3. I blanked on that. So not perfect, everybody. Sorry about that, but that's the answer you're looking for, right? So hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for pointing that out. That's, that reminded me that it's there. So anyhow, all right. Sip of coffee and we're going to keep moving on. All right, build CMA. Now this is where you can go in and do more here. Oh, gosh, I got to back out a little bit. I think I got the system kind of whacked out. So let me start over. This shouldn't happen to you. I've been clicking on a lot of things. So we'll just do 3, 2, 1981, and then we'll just click next. So I'm just kind of going back to where I was and fast forwarding. Build CMA. And load. There we go. Now we are where we need to be. Okay, so there's a lot going on this page. So for those of you that are wanting to kind of get into the details and really manipulate the data and what's in here, this is where you want to be. So you can switch between total price and price per square foot. So again, depending on the property, you may just want to demonstrate the actual property values based off of price per square footage, as opposed to the total price, because you may have $1 million homes sitting literally across the street from $250,000 homes. And just that sort of scenario can kind of make your comps hard to calculate. So price per square foot might be a better value to have on your report. So you can toggle between the two of them. I'm just going to kind of work my way down here. So agent price, if you've seen the property, you know everything about it or the neighborhood, and you feel pretty confident that you've got a price determined for that property. Like, let's see. All right, so all these properties, they look like they're in the 1 million to 2 million range. So we'll just say I think this property is probably going to get listed for 1.5 million. I can put that in and then click add, and you'll see right down here, it's going to have my name with the price listed right here in the middle. If I don't like that for whatever reason, I can click remove change and I can add in a range. So let's say there's a good chance the property is going to be listed for between 1.2 and 1.7. I can click add and you'll see that pops up down here instead. So I'm always a little hesitant to put this information in, or encouraging people to put that information in, because people just kind of get locked in on those numbers. So if you enter in your own price and then you go over there and you see that the basement has been flooded for the last 6 months and they haven't done anything about it, yeah, that's probably going to affect the value, right? So just be careful of that. And then when you look at the minimum range to max range, I think consumers tend to keep their eyeball on the max range, and that's going to be kind of what they expect or hope. So, just keep that in mind when you're getting ready to have a conversation, especially with somebody you haven't worked with before, or that may have never actually sold a home before. Just go easy on them. Don't give them too much data, because they might get confused or hold you to some information that you're like, oops, I really didn't think we would get to that price point. And now you got to kind of backtrack and tell them why their home isn't worth that. And that may not be a fun conversation. So, and you can just leave this blank. Okay, so it's just going to provide data, and then it will provide an average sales price in the area, or average price per square footage. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. But you can see all these items, and these actually become interactive. Well, they become interactive links to the consumer if you provide them with the link to the presentation, as opposed to a PDF. And I'll get into the difference between the interactive version and the PDF version, how to create them, how to share them. I'm going to get into all that here in just a little bit. Okay. Let's see, Chrissy, can you search by subdivision name or legal description? So back in that place where I searched for areas, you should be able to type in a subdivision, but the system, it has to recognize it. And I don't know about your area, but in Arizona, we've got agents that will put in the subdivision might be like the mark, and they will put in the subdivision line the mark, and then someone will put in the subdivision the mark phase 4, and then somebody will put in the mark phase 2.5, and those are all different subdivisions. So you may end up finding that you've got bad information being pulled in. And again, you can take out properties if they're not in that subdivision or that community or that building. And I'll show you how to do that. So having a really small area like that, it might work, but just pay attention. If you do plug in a subdivision name, you might be pulling only certain properties and not all of them. And that's basically because of what another agent has put as the subdivision when they put in the listing into their MLS. You don't have any control over that. So I always say start big and then whittle away if you have to. And as for legal description, I don't believe you can. Certainly not in Arizona, and I don't know if you can in your areas. You'd have to just plug it into that area section and see if it works for you or not. Okay. So I'm going to work across the top here. Comparables. So this is where you can go in and start removing properties. So if you've got way too many properties in here, and like this 2.25 million is just absolutely immaculate, and it's got more square footage than your subject property, and it's sitting on a gold mine or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can delete it. So I click delete, and that property is going to get removed from the comp analysis. Now you can't add in properties here. You can only remove them. Okay. So if there's properties that you're like, wait, I know this property down the street that sold 2 weeks ago, why isn't it in here? You probably got to go back to your search and adjust the parameters so it pulls that property in. Okay. So you have to actually either that, or you do the MLS number input, which is more time intensive, but it might be your only solution if that's the scenario you've run into. So I can come down here, closed homes. I can make adjustments on these. So if I know that this home, you know, oh gosh, I don't want to get myself in trouble. I have a lot of different things that are running through my head that could adversely affect the property, but let's just say water damage. So we know that water damage probably is going to negatively affect the value, $2,500 or $25,000. You can add that in and it will adjust the price per square footage and things like that. So for Jeff, up in the right-hand corner, how you delete a property is you click on it, and then at the top where you see feature, like, and delete, just click the delete button. And as it says, I'm not clicking on it, I'm hovering over it. It says remove the property from the calculations and the scale. And that's something else that I really like about this system is if you hover your mouse over things, it usually will give you a little bit of a description as to what it is you're doing before you actually do it. The feature button, this will highlight it on the scale below. Just makes it stand out a little bit more. So if this is a property that's, you know, it's a track home and it's basically the same square footage, same layout, same everything, you can click feature and it'll just kind of call it out on the report that you're generating for the property. Okay, so I talked about adjustment names that can be plus or minus. So here's this one, minus 2,500, waterfall in the backyard, you know, $5,000. Okay, you can add that in. Now, this is real nitpicky stuff, but if you've only got maybe 3 or 4 comps, you may want to adjust these things, especially if you know what's going on with those properties. So again, for the more really detailed agent and or client that you're presenting to, this type of adjustment and manipulation may be beneficial to your overall presentation. You don't have to do these things, but you can if you choose. So once you've gone through everything and you're like, okay, yeah, these all look pretty good. I don't want to get that one in there. It's a little small. I want to delete it. So poof, there you go. It's going to disappear. Gone. All right. Click the X. That's going to bring you back to the screen here. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll down and show you more in a minute. I told you I was going to work across this top section, and that's what I'm going to do here. So trends is basically a way to present other data that you might find beneficial to your presentation that you're going to be conducting with this client. So again, we're still in a seller presentation, so I'm going to be using, you know, seller consultation type verbiage here. So highest price, medium price, average price, most recent, lowest price. You know, you can add and remove these as you see fit. So average price is automatically clicked for all of them, but if you want most recent in there, or most recent, you know, I think maybe more the most recent closed properties, you can do that, and then you just click the X and that will add those properties in. Now, features. Now, this is where you can actually do a little bit more manipulation to cut out certain properties from your CMA. So does it have a pool? Yes or no? Arizona, we've got a lot of pools, so that may or may not work as well in your market if you're in an area that doesn't have pools. But again, you can kind of scroll down and just see what your options are. I'm not going to go through and just start clicking on everything because I don't want to screw up my data. But keep in mind that we're working on active pending here. And then if I click close, you have a separate list of parameters here to choose from. And then show only comparable features. It reduces the number of items to choose from. This may be a little more than you need. This one will just thin it down a little bit for you. Okay, so click X, and then estimates. Atom is a tool that is similar to the Zestimate system. Depending on the property, you may or may not be able to select this item. I don't really know what causes that to be active or not active, but if you want to create your own estimate name, you know, or if you do want to, if you have run a Zillow's estimate, God help you if you do. I hate using the Z word, but let's face it, it is a real thing that's out there and people know about it. You can create your own estimate name and estimate price. there's some other estimate tools out there, and I just can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but you can run them yourself and then add that in if you choose. Again, maybe a little bit dangerous because you start putting information that may lead your seller to believe or think that they're going to be listed at a certain price that may not be accurate. Outliers is basically a way to include only active listings. It helps take out bad comp data. I think you are better off just going in and deleting out properties that don't fit your comp analysis. So this is a way to just kind of like bulk wipe out. So if you've got way too many properties in, you can use that outliers to help, do kind of a bulk manipulation to get closer to where you want to be. Now, so these are all the properties that are in the comp analysis. Some are highlighted, highest, most recent, highest sold, because we checked those boxes. Let's see, down here, it kind of gives you the average of these different metrics. Now, if I come down here, this is, again, this will actually be represented in a slide in the CMA, and you can actually suppress this if you don't want it in there, but it does give data, and they can click on it and they can interact with it and just do more with the presentation. Again, not available if you're providing them a PDF, but if you're sending them the link to the video, to the presentation, they can click on these things and kind of play around and get more information about the property and what you've presented to them. So this is a very highly interactive presentation, which I love. I'm kind of a geeky right brain guy where I want to play with the data and maybe see what's really digging. I like stats and things like that. So if you kind of know the temperament or the personality of the consumer you're going to be meeting with, you might want to just throw a ton of data at them, because that is going to make them super happy. They can go in and click and have fun and really dig into the data. Now, if they're another personality where they just need pretty pictures and a little bit of text, you can provide that to them as well. That's one thing that I really like about this tool, is you can kind of tinker it to the type of presentation and the type of person you're going to be presenting the data to. Okay, so I think I've covered everything on this page here. So we're going to say, all right, everything looks good. I've got the properties in there that I want. I've made the edits and calculations and added in whatever I need to add. I'm going to click create presentation. Another sip of coffee. So there's a little bit of there's a lot going on here. The nice thing is you don't really have to monkey with this at all. As a default, it gives you a lot of good information that you don't really need to go in and manipulate it. But for your first time using the system, I highly encourage you to go in and just look at what's available, because they have a ton of Remax branded content that you can add in to the presentation to help, again, demonstrate value of both yourself, your brand, your organization, provide them information about how to, best market their home and stage it and things like that. So I'm going to get to that here in just a moment. So I like to work my way down. So I'm going to start here at the top under emphasis. So if I want something that's really like emphatic on the brand, I can click on that. If I want to have a contingent, so this is a no nonsense seller. Their current home is holding them back from their next move. This emphasis is they've kind of handpicked all the slides that really tie into these categories, if you will. I'm shopping for you, and then make me list. Okay, so these are kind of like default templates that you can select that have different slides that are brought into the presentation depending on which one you've clicked on. I'm just going to leave default order for now. The theme, I can do traditional, modern, or if it's a high-end property like this particular property is, I'd want to use luxury, and then it will have the Remax collection branding on it. And then I can click on the different options here to change the layout. I believe the collection one doesn't have multiple options, but modern does, as you can see. Okay, so let's just go to modern. Let's use one that's got some different items in here. Okay, click X, and then mode, presentation, CMA, single page view. Now, presentation is where you can drop in all kinds of content and data. CMA is going to be very limited. It's just going to have data essentially, kind of like what we were looking at before when we were manipulating the comps. It's not going to have, you know, why select a Remax agent, how to market your home, what buyers are looking for, what market timing means, things like that. So those are all slides that you could actually drop into the presentation. Now, a single page review is just what it says it is. If this is just a one-sheeter of what's going on around that property, if you will. Now, you do have the ability to add in some slides. So if you're like, yeah, presentation is a little too much and single page review is maybe, you know, a little too light, I can click on add slide and start adding in slides. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this here in just a second. I want to be in the right place here. So under presentation, this is where we can start going in and hand selecting our slides that are going to be included in the presentation. What do you do to go back? You've got a previous button up here in the top right-hand corner, Chrissy. So if you need to go back and start manipulating your data again, just click on the previous button. I don't encourage hitting the back button on your browser because that might scramble up your data. So click the previous button up here in the top right-hand corner. Okay. So introduction, cover, why am I the right fit? Now, so here you can click on the slides and it'll show you what they look like. And then let's say you click on this one. Okay, yeah, that looks great. All right, yeah, you know, I like that, but I don't love it. So I'm going to click on the X to get rid of it. And then poof, it's gone. Okay. Now come back down. No, I don't like that one either. Poof, gone. All right, so what else is here? Okay, yeah, everything looks good. So you can see there's a lot in here. Now you click on add slide. Anytime you see add slide, you can click on it and you can start adding content in. So now you've got a lot of categories here and what I would call hashtags. So all slides is obviously going to provide you with every single slide that's available. So when I said that there's a lot of preloaded content in here with Remax brand on it, I was not kidding. Look at all this. There's even commercial stuff in here. For those of you that habla español, unfortunately, there are no Spanish speaking tiles in the system as of yet. I know it is a feature enhancement that they have been asked about. Unfortunately, it does not exist yet. So, and I don't know if and when it will, but they're well aware that that would be something nice to have. So, for our Spanish speaking agents, I don't have a solution for you there. So again, you can click on these different categories to bring up the slides that pertain to that category. The hashtags. So let's say you just want collection branded or collection type slides. You can click on collection or whatever. If you're a commercial agent, go to all slides, click commercial, and then you'll get your commercial properties. So this is like a main category, and then what's below it would be a subcategory. Okay. Now, the thing to be aware of here is if it is grayed out, that means it is a part of the presentation. If it is not grayed out, like these say, and like it says down here, it is not included. So now it says it is included. So this one is now not included. And when I click on it, it goes gray and it will be included in the presentation. Okay. So let's say I want to add in, not a buyer's guide because we're dealing with the seller here. So keep that in mind. Maybe why am I the right fit? Buyer's guide, collection, seller's guide. Got it. So here are tiles or slides that would pertain to helping a seller prepare their home to be listed. So I can add selected slides and it's going to drop them in right there. I can click and drag them up and down. So if I want this to be here and I want that to be here, and then oops, I don't want this realtor versus iBuyer in there, I can delete it. And then you just go through and you make the changes that you feel like you need to do. And if you want to see what they look like, obviously just click on it and you'll be able to see it nice and big, or as big as your screen allows, and you can see what your client will see. So yeah, next steps. So this is a page that links to you. It's got your information and some buttons for them to click on. Again, if they're interacting with the presentation and not holding it or a PDF version. So Chrissy, when you go to add slide, see how these are not as vibrant as this one over here. Importance of staging. Importance of staging is a little bit more vibrant. It may not show that well on your screen or because I'm sharing my screen, but really what you want to look for is included or not included. It's in little letters down here at the bottom. So that's how you'll know if it's included or not included, if you can't really tell if it's grayed out or not. All right, so now that we have created our presentation, I'm going to go back to the cover. Now you'll see an option up here. If you have a photo or some branded logo of yourself or something, if you have an image of the property, you can upload your own photo that would end up becoming your image for the property. So whoops, if I want to go to, let's see, Remax Photos, AZ Homes. Let's say this is a picture of the house that I'm getting ready to list. I can add that in, click use photo, and then it's going to drop it into the presentation. And then I can change presentation prepared for. Let's say I want to actually personalize this to the client's name, the Smith family. And then you can change the image, the information down here. If you're like, oops, no, the square footage is actually 2,700, you can do that, okay? Or if you don't like any of it and you just want to get rid of it, delete it, that's fine. Click apply, whoops. You should be able to delete it. Ah, no. Okay, they may have changed that when they did the rebrand. Yeah, you'll just want it. Here, let's see if I can just hit a spacebar a couple times. There you go. All right, that's the workaround. If you want to get rid of that, hit the spacebar a couple times, hit apply, and then it will get rid of it. So I don't know if you would need to, but you could put in a, I don't know, if you have a tagline or something like that, from sale to sold. That was an old tagline that Remax was using. You can put anything in there. So it doesn't have to be like house data specific, but hit the spacebar a couple times if you actually want to wipe that out. And then if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to no image, and then I can go back and put in whatever I want to do here for the cover page. Okay. And in this type of emphasis and theme and present and mode, the cover is included. If you want to get rid of the cover, you would need to change the mode to go to the single sheet or a different one to get rid of the cover page. But I like the cover page. I think it's helpful. All right, so we're going to click next, and that will just take you through all of the slides. If you want to do a last check of everything in there. The PDF version, if you click on that, it'll just show you what it would look like if somebody's going to print it out, or if you're going to like send it to them as an attachment, which I don't necessarily think you need to do or want to do, but depending on who you're working with, they might need you to mail it to them or something. So again, this is just a preview button. And then finally, we're going to click present and share. Now, here is where you can save and add the client. So if you want to attach this to an existing client in your CRM, you would type in their name. So like I've got myself in there as a contact, I can click on that. And then this presentation will be saved to that contact. Now, if I am setting up a new client that I'm going to be sending this to, I can click add a client and then put in their name and email address, and then you can go back into this CRM and add more details about that person if you need to later. Add listing agreement link. This would be a PDF or a link to a document that is the listing document. Just keep in mind that whatever you are sending to them, it may or may not be able to be digitally signed depending on how you're sending it to them. So I don't know if you necessarily want to use that or not. That's up to you. Add net sheet. You would want to get this information from your title company or your mortgage company and enter in the information yourself. All different states and areas have all different, values that would go in here. So they do not pre-populate that for you. Add a video link if you want to create a YouTube video, or if maybe you got a community video that you've created around that property, you could put that in here. Or if you use Loom, which is a screen capture tool, you can take the link for that Loom video and add that in here as well. So more advanced, probably not going to need it or use it, but for most of you, but it does exist for those of you that are doing more with video, which I applaud if you are. Open presentation is just going to open up an example of what the presentation would look like when they click on the link that you send to them. So here is what the presentation looks like. It's nice and big on whatever screen they're looking at it on. If they're looking at it on their phone, I mean, obviously this might be a little bit of a challenge to look at, but they've got it on a tablet or a PC, it should show pretty well. Email presentation. So I need to put my client name in there again. Click add. So now it's going to add it to that client. And now I can click email presentation and I can send it to this client with this subject and then type in a message and then click send. This is the presentation I told you about or whatever. And then you can preview it. You can click send. Oh, I didn't put a subject line in there. Presentation. There we go. Click send, and then it'll send it via email. Now it's going to come as a clickable link that the person can interact with. And then finally, you've got download and print, which obviously should be pretty self-explanatory. You can now download the PDF version of it, and then you can email it to someone, attach it. You know, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with a PDF file. And then here's kind of I don't want to call it a hack, but if you want to take this presentation and like post it to social media or something like that, you can click copy on the link here, and now this becomes a link, an unrestricted, unprotected link that you can, you know, post to your social media. So if I go to my Facebook page, I apologize in advance for any of my friends that have posted anything weird, but here we go. Click on what's on my mind. I can put in the presentation, and then it's going to basically allow me to paste that presentation to my social media. And then for those of you, I showed the URL shortener that Remax provides to us. You can utilize that to shorten this URL and actually take it and text it to someone. So under the Max Text system, you have the URL shortener. I can come in, click on create link. I take that URL that I just copied, put it in here, and then I'll call this a agave presentation, and then click create. Now I have a short link that I can easily write down or copy and text to my client or to anybody I want. I can create a QR code that goes to it. This URL shortener is a pretty cool tool. Now this is outside of the Bold Trail system, so I'm kind of diverting from our presentation here just a little bit to show you something kind of cool that I think you might find useful. So I'm going to get back out of this. We can talk URL shortener, you know, at the end of the presentation, or you know, one-on-one if you have questions about that. So I'm going to close that, and then that's basically it. You've created the presentation. Ta-da! Now, I spent a lot of time talking about stuff, so I mean, it shouldn't take you the 30-40 minutes that it just took me to create this presentation. It might only take you 15-20 if you're really getting into the details of the presentation. Now, you can click edit presentation to go back and make changes if you choose to do so. Okay, so I'm going to click present and share, and it's just going to take me right back to where I was. Okay, now let's say I'm done and I want to go do another one. I can go to present home over here, or I can just go back to the Max Tech and then click on present to go back into the present system. So I'm going to click on present home. And just so I don't run out of time, I think this is really important for you to see this. If you scroll down, you will see links to all of the presentations you have created. So you can, if you've given a buyer or a seller a presentation, it's been a couple weeks, you want to update it, you don't have to start from scratch. You can just come back, click on update, and then update whatever the content or criteria is. And then you've got these little buttons over here where you can copy the web link to it. You can download the PDF. You have analytics. If you've sent this to somebody and they've looked at it, I shouldn't have deleted a couple presentations that I did actually kind of mess around with. The analytics will kind of tell you where they looked, where they spent time, within the web version. So if they're like clicking on things, you can see that in the analytics. If you want to email it, or if you're like, this presentation, I definitely do not need any more. The seller is dead and gone or moved or, listed with somebody else or whatever. You can click the X and you can just delete the presentation as well. Chrissy, is there a way to save the slides so you don't have to pick them each time? Yes. I will try to get to that here in a couple minutes. If not, I believe I have a link here. I'm gonna copy and paste it right now. It's a help article that will walk you through how to create your own slides and create a custom, essentially a template for yourself. So using those 4 options that I showed you, where you've got the what was it called? The emphasis, where you're focusing on sellers and things like that. That should whittle down on a few of them for you. So I'm gonna keep moving through this. Let's see. When the representation. So this is basically, it says these are presentations for buyers. So if you're getting ready to meet a buyer, here's what this presentation is going to provide. It's going to allow you to have some custom content, contract if you want to upload it and send it to them, and then a full analytics of the area. A buyer tool is going to provide full analytics, custom content, and then it's actually going to provide a way for them to leave comments or enter comments about the properties. Yeah, I really like this one because it's got a nice kitchen, or I hate this one. I'm sorry, I really dislike. I hate using the word the word hate. So I really dislike the cracking pool in the backyard, things like that. And then when the offer is kind of like a full-blown CMA for that neighborhood, very similar to what you'd create for a seller presentation. And then in case I don't get there, presentations for anyone. This is basically where you just kind of create one from scratch. So let's see. When the representation, not a whole lot to do here. It's pretty easy. You just go in and create, edit who's it for. You can put in your tagline. You can add an image like we were talking about before. And then you can go in and select the tiles or the slides that you want to use. And again, these are going to be focused on buyer slides. So, it's really going to only give you a few options, but it's only because it's pertaining to communicating with a buyer. So you're not going to put a seller's guide in a buyer presentation. So just, it's easy for you to get in there and add these presentations. And then once you click present and share, you essentially get a lot of the same information as to, you can add a buyer representation contract. Same things here. You can download and print it, click copy, add net sheet, things like that. So I'm going to go back to present home, buyer tour. You will need to have the MLS IDs in order to create the buyer tour. So you would have to manually enter in each MLS ID for the property or the properties that you are going to be showing them or that you want them to see. And then you can type in their name here. Oh, I'm sorry, you got to actually enter in the client name, my mistake. And then that's going to attach that buyer presentation to that client. So let's see, I don't have an MLS ID to enter, so I am going to have to click the back button. When the offer is, like I said, it's very similar to the seller presentation. There really is no theme to select per se. So let me add this address that I was using before. And I know I'm getting to the end here. For those of you that do have to punch out right at the top of the hour, this is being recorded. That Dropbox link is what you want to take note of. And if you are not able to stick around for the whole presentation, you can go and watch the rest of it whenever you want via the link. So I might run a couple minutes over here. So again, this looks all very similar to the buyer presentation. I'm going to skip to the presentation where I add and remove the slides. And yeah, again, it all pretty much looks the same. You've got, they've defaulted to mostly buyer related slides. So to Chrissy, if you're really, they do a pretty good job of creating these presentations and dropping in default stuff so you don't have to go in and completely upend the ship and rip it apart and add stuff back in. you've got a pretty good template to work with right there. But I can see where there would be a need to maybe just create one from scratch and make it a template for yourself, and hopefully that link I sent you will help you do that. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to scroll back down through my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah, the general presentation, there's no themes. You can add an agreement if you choose to, and you can assign it to a client. So I encourage you to assign these things to a client if that way everything just stays nice and organized, and you can always go back to that client's contact page and update your presentations and download them there. Because once you've done a lot of these, hopefully you will, you're going to find that this list here of presentations is going to get very long and very hard to find a presentation if you're trying to go back to somebody you were talking to a year ago. So having it attached to the client or the contact will be helpful. Obviously, you can do a search here. So legends, the address or the client name, you can type that in. I didn't save it. So, but if it was attached to a client, it would show up there. So you can search for certain presentations in there as well. Now, one last thing that I think is important before I wrap this up and start taking questions is under custom settings. Over here on the right-hand side, it does automatically grab your bio from your profile. And in previous sessions, we've talked about how to update your profile. You basically have to do it from the Remax Max Center profile. But I can come in here and change my bio, and then it would show up on the About Me page that I may have opted to utilize in the presentation. Display image is a way to add like your own brand, your own logo, maybe I don't know, you can get creative. You've got certain parameters you need to match in order to load that photo in, otherwise it could become a little distorted. So let's see, it doesn't tell you up here. Yeah, you just have to drop it in. But this is really designed to be like maybe a team photo or a logo or something along those lines. Now, you can use these other options here. I honestly, I don't know where they come from. I'd prefer to just copy and paste in a bio that I've already created and just leave it at none and be done with it. And then click save and continue. Get rid of that. Click save and continue. And then testimonials, that's where you can manually enter in testimonials that will show up. And this is linked to your account. You don't have to do this every single time you create a presentation. So on the testimonials slide in the presentation, if you have testimonials added here, they will be presented in any presentations that you create. So I don't have any listed here, but I can add testimonials. If you want to add in testimonials from like Zillow or somewhere else that you have Zillow's posted, you can use the URL here, but I think it's really only Zillow that it's gonna link to, and you would have to communicate with the Zillow team to find out what that testimonial link is if you don't know what it is. And then, as with anything in the system, click save and continue to save any changes that you've made. Otherwise, if you click the X, it's going to tell you, hey, did you mean to do that? Did you want to not save it? These customized presentations, I don't really encourage you to get in and mess around with these too much, because they've all been hand created by the Remax and Bold Trail team to have the right colors and fonts and things. And if you start changing that around, the presentation could get out of whack. So I think you're better off just leaving those alone. But if you find a reason, or you are savvy enough, you can manipulate and manage that without creating any problems, feel free to go ahead, obviously. Now, presentation library, again, this is where you can go in and do some add in your own slides and do some other things in here as well. Slide name, you can name it whatever you want. And then you would actually drop in your images and add your text to create your own slides. So a little bit more advanced. You may have a reason to do this. You've got another presentation that you've used, like maybe you've done something in RPR or the MLS, or you've had something created for you in Canva or something like that. You can take those images and text and drop them in here. You've got a bunch of templates over here. You can add content. this would almost be like another 30 minutes to really go into depth about how to create more slides. But that is where you can create more content to drop into the platform for your presentations. So Chrissy, I think what you might be looking for is you might just want to create a general presentation. And then once you've saved all of those slides and the format and everything, you can then just go in and update it each time you want to create that presentation. Then all you're really doing is maybe changing the name of the person you're presenting it to and then fine tuning it a little bit. I don't think there's a way to just copy a presentation. I haven't seen that. So if there is a way to do it at the moment, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I don't know if you can just copy a presentation. You would just have to create something, name it something general, and then update it. So, holy smokes. I said I'd go a couple minutes over and I was about right. It's 9:02, or at least it's 9:02 here in Arizona, probably 11:02 for those of you on the East Coast. I appreciate all of you hanging in there. And for those of you that were asking questions, thank you for keeping me on my toes. I love the questions, but I also dread them too. I wouldn't call myself a level 5 expert on this platform. I'm learning every day. They're always providing more content and doing updates and things like that. So keeping it, the system keeps me on my toes. One thing you might want to be aware of is Remax and Bold Trail work together to provide a massive live training series that's going to start, I believe, next week. I just put a link in the chat. I think there's like 20 or 30 live sessions that you can sign up for, all free of charge, obviously. And they really get in depth with some of the content and the features and parts of the Bold Trail platform. If I click on the link, you've got a video from Tavia Ritter, who's their lead trainer. But I mean, holy smokes, look at all these classes that you can sign up for. They go through the end of March. So I would encourage you to check these out if you really want to get more in depth into the presentations or other features of the system. My Tech Tuesdays, I mean, I love that you're interacting with them, but you know, I only can cover so much in an hour, and they've created a lot of really cool topics that you can sign up for and learn. And I don't know if they're being recorded or not. I would hope they are and that they'll be made available somewhere, but I don't have that answer. I don't have that control. So the link again is in the chat if you want to save that and look at it later. And yeah, so again, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you have questions, again, please unmute yourself and ask or drop it in the chat. I'm happy to look at it there for you as well. And I put my my contact information and the product support information in the chat as well. For any of you that tuned in a little late, my contact information and product support is available to you. You can reach out anytime you have a question or a challenge. So, all right. Sue, you're very welcome. Glad you tuned in. Deborah, thank you very much. I really appreciate the feedback. I honestly, I have fun with these things. It challenges me, and I really do love helping you as well. So I truly appreciate the feedback. Shannon, you know, Chrissy, yeah, Audrey, you're very welcome. Thank you. So, all right, everybody. Well, yeah, there's a lot going on. Remax R4 is going on. Announcements are coming out. So please keep an eye on your emails from Remax this week, especially. They're talking about doing some cool rebranding, and they might be announcing some product enhancements and tools and features. I wasn't able to make it there myself, so I really don't know what's coming out yet, but I'm paying attention to the emails and hopefully going to stay as on top of all this stuff as I can. And yeah, it's a good week to really pay attention to your Remax emails, because this is when they start announcing all the fun, exciting new things that they're working on and training and all kinds of stuff. So if you're not good about reading the Remax emails, I challenge you the next week or two, take a minute, save them, open them when you can, and take a look at what's going on. So I'll hang on here a couple more minutes. There's some people hanging on, so if you have any other questions, please do so. I'll be here, and it can be regarding present, it can be regarding the URL shortener, lead concierge, anything within the Remax tool system. I'll do my best to answer those questions. Mark, glad you were able to tune in, man. Hopefully your presentation last week went well.
Yes, it went
Yeah.
very well. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, good. Did you walk away with 2 listings at least? Or at least one?
No, ironically, both of them are now opting for a March, April start.
Okay,
But that's okay. I think we're in good shape.
awesome. Well, they didn't tell you to go away, so that's good.
No,
So,
they didn't. That's true.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, I'm glad the presentation went well for you. That's good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
You're
It's
very welcome.
greatly appreciated.
Not a problem. Audrey, the URL shortener, great question. So the place to find it is you have to go back to the Mac Center home screen, click on apps and tools if you don't just automatically see it. And then you're going to come down to URL shortener. You click on that, and then you'll be right back where I was a little bit before earlier in our presentation. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see everything. Yeah, the URL shortener is pretty cool. I like this a lot. It's Remax branded, first of all, which I love. You get the QR code. As I've said in previous sessions, COVID made QR codes cool again. Could have done without the COVID, for a lot of horrific reasons. But anyhow, QR codes are kind of back and not going anywhere anytime soon. So QR codes, you can download that. You can actually customize the end bumper, if you will, of the shortened link. So if I want to call this agave, I can actually change it to agave. And now that link is rem.ax/agave. And it is case sensitive. That is extremely important. It is case sensitive. So if you're worried about that, don't put a capital A in there. Make it all lowercase. Keep it simple, right? And then the little sideways snowman looking thing over here on the right, you can share the link, but you also have link analytics and reporting. And where's let's see. Here's a link I've been using. So if I click on this, it'll show me how many people have clicked on a link, where they were from, and some other metrics as well. So if you're using these links in your mailers or in your emails, and you're wondering if it's getting any traction, this very kind of top level metrics analytics report will give you some ideas as to if it's actually working and getting engagement. So it doesn't tell you who clicked on it here. That you would have to be using a system that does track clicks. But this tells you what has happened with that particular link that you have created. So does that answer your question, Audrey, if you're still there?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Tyler.
You're very welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, all right, very good. Well, we've got one more session next week. We're going to be getting into kind of the add-ons and kind of the last tools that are available to you within the Bold Trail system. I'm going to actually show you kind of where we'll be spending more time, and it'll be. I want it to be interactive. I want to hear what people have been doing to generate engagement, tips and tricks that you found successful. But we're going to get into the marketplace is really where we're going to spend some time, and you can access that via the more button down here on the bottom left, and then the marketplace, and then I'll be there. It's going to be a lot of Q&A as well. I anticipate that. But yeah, the marketplace is where I'll kind of go through a lot of the tiles that are in here that a lot of you may or may not be aware of. So this is where you might get into some of the paid services that are available to you, and some are better than others, to be honest with you. But I can kind of give you an overview as to what's in there, and what I've heard is maybe working better than others. So that's going to be next week on Tuesday, the 2nd, I believe, is I'm sorry, the 4th. So tune in on the 4th of March at 8 a.m. Arizona time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then I think we'll probably take a week off or so before I start the next session. But again, all of my contact information is in there. Oh yeah, the open house. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the open house app in the next week as well. Thank you. Gosh, Deborah, I'm not looking at my notes for next week, so I'm just doing this from the top
Oh,
of my
no,
head.
that's great. We went over it one other time and I have an open house on Saturday. So we're,
Yeah. So the open house. So the way to get to the open house app is go to the dashboard and then go to download mobile app. And then scroll down to open house and then click on the link that pertains to the mobile device that you're going to be putting it on. I like to text me the iOS link, but if you're putting this on like an iPad or something, texting it to you may not be right. You might need to like email it to yourself or something like that, or install it through the App Store or the Google Play system. So that's where you're going to get access to the app. Let me do this. I'm gonna pull up my old playlist of videos and I'll share with you the link to the session I did a few weeks ago that talks about the open house app. And then I'll also provide you with the information about the right from the Bold Trail system that will help you get familiarized with the app. So I'm working on my side screen here. I'm just hang tight. I'll post some links here in the chat. So the YouTube link that I just put in the chat, that's going to go over. That's going to be my open house and marketplace and everything that I'm essentially going to do next Tuesday. But it doesn't help you if your presentation's on Saturday. And then, okay, now you can see my screen. You've got the training learning path, but you might just want to go to support resources and click on open house. And then you're going to get a ton of content on the open house system and the how-tos, onboarding. You've got a few things but the open house mobile app, this first one is probably your best option. And I don't know if they have a learning track on this or not. We're going to find out together here. I love the support that they've built into this platform, man. They've got so many ways to learn the system. It's just ridiculous. It's incredible. So if I type in open house, let's see what comes up here. Okay, so here's a course on how to create and promote virtual open houses. We've got a second page here. So yeah, they may not have a great walkthrough for open houses built yet. So tutorials and how-tos. Yeah, again, I wasn't prepared for the question, so I don't know if I'm in the right spot or not. General tech. So how to create a Facebook post, open house. Yeah, it doesn't really show me where to go through like a track. So yeah, I think that help article that I sent you is probably going to be your best bet for learning how to utilize the open house app. So a lot of content in here, and it shows you pretty much everything you're going to need to know. It's just not going to be a kind of like a step-by-step tutorial that would be in this link here. So and then training calendar. Let's see, there might be something coming up that, so let's see, if you're on the East Coast, we can see what time. I know they do training on the open house app. Let's see, Bold Trail. I mean, tons and tons of tutorials and nothing on the 26th. It doesn't have a search here, does it? Yeah, it doesn't look like it has a search option. That's a bummer. I'm looking very quickly. You might see it before I do, but anyhow, under this training schedule, you might find the a live open house training. I don't have it saved right off right where I can easily find it. I need to look for it here on the schedule. So, click on week, it might, yeah, it's not going to show me anything really better. So anyhow, you've got a couple places you can get access to the training, and I know they're going to be talking about it in the in that massive support calendar that they just released. So I know they will be covering it then, but again, that's going to be after your open house. So anyhow, hopefully that helps. Any other questions? I'm still hanging around. I'm doing good and happy to help. All right. Whew. We have shoved about 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag here, man. This is a lot of content. Hopefully you're seeing some of the power and the value that's being provided to you by Remax. You can't break the system. Get in there, play around with it, set yourself up as a test contact. I've say that every time. That way you can kind of send stuff to yourself, play with the system, learn it, interact with it. And that way, when you're sending it to your clients and they say, hey, what is this? What does this mean? How does this work? Can you tell me more about this? You're not sitting there saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, anyhow, again, text, email, call me, set up a time to meet with me if you want. I do it all. I look forward to interacting with you. Hopefully I can get to Florida or New Jersey sometime and meet some of you in person. I'd love that as well. And always welcome to come to Arizona and visit us here. You might want to do it before June and after maybe August. But if nothing else, you won't have to deal with as much traffic, and room reservations are cheaper, and you just bring sunblock and maybe a big hat. So anyhow, all right, everybody, go have a great day. Make some contacts, shake some hands, wear the brand loud and proud, attract some people, and let's make it a great year. Hope you have a great day, everybody. Hope to see you next Tuesday, the 4th at 8 a.m. Arizona time, 10 a.m. your time on the East Coast, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Audrey.